masochism, the gratification in one's suffering physical pain or humiliation. Or why I willingly chose to play one of the worst games of all time. And it only came out a few years ago. Pick any worst games of 2013 list and Ride to Hell Retribution is going to be on it, including my own list. And yet the more I thought about it, the more I came to the same conclusion. I don't think anyone ever has beaten this game.
Nuh-uh, Jared, I actually beat this game.
You're lying! It's been almost 3 years since I even looked at Ride to Hell Retribution, and yet it always crawls back into my mind whenever the worst games of whatever year list comes out. This is for me. I need to put this to rest.
It opens with what you can expect from this game. Biker dudes, motorcycles, a turret section? What? No joke. Literally, the first bit of gameplay that there is a turret section. It doesn't last long because this is a flash forward sequence, which flashes to the next bit of high octane action this game has to offer, a quick time event.
45 seconds. We're only 45 seconds into this game and we've already checked off 2 of the most overused cliches in any action game ever. And yes, it does get worse.
The main character is Jake Conway, returning from the Vietnam War. He's greeted by the man who raised him, Mac, and his little brother Mikey, with a hug that goes on just a little too long. Mikey starts crying about not seeing a concert with his girlfriend and runs away on a motorcycle, so Jake gives chase. The motorcycle sections suck, alright? I'll go more in depth later as they show up all the time. All you need to know is that Mikey and Jake talk, but I have no idea what about, as the bikes drown out everything that they're saying.
Why did you stick up? Jesus, Mike.
After a brief heart-to-heart about girl problems and how hard life can be with giant monster hands, some other biker dudes come up and start bullying Mikey. And then there's another bike chase. It's just like the first bike chase with weird physics and bad controls, only now enemies try to kill Jake during the chase. They magnetize themselves next to you and then it's a quick time event to kill them. This allows Jake to take out enemies, or in some cases, use a telekinetic punch followed up by a wave kick and then mind controlling the motorcycle to drive over one of the other guys and then blow up.
Despite this incredible display of power, Jake and Mikey are suddenly surrounded by the biker gang in an awkwardly quiet cutscene.
Don't you move now, cherry pie.
I didn't edit that at all. That's actually how the cutscene plays out, devoid of sound. That happens more than once.
The bikers are pissed that they have a jacket of the Retribution gang and that their dad is known as Toledo Conway. Yeah, I don't care. Anyway, Kylo Ren gets his throat slit and they shoot Jake 3 times, who reacts by looking like he has indigestion. And now Jake swears to kill every single one of them, and off he rides, looking for dudes to murder. The way the game plays out is that you have on-foot action sections and or talking to people, and in between each one is riding a bike. The bike sections are never difficult or exciting, they just waste time and really add nothing to the game, aside from a weak justification as to why we end up from fight to fight. Every single one of these parts is just padding to make the game last way longer than it should. And like I said earlier, they're not fun to play either. The controls are stiff and the physics are all over the place. And it's not really interesting because you just go in a straight line, occasionally murdering some gangbangers or cops or power sliding for way too long under stuff. And everywhere is under construction! I swear to God, there isn't a finished road in this game! There's more road construction going on in this game than all of Texas! Anyway, Jake drives to somewhere and beats up some dude for information on one of the gang members that murdered Mikey. This is the other main part of the gameplay. Fighting dudes. It uses a quarter-assed version of the combat system from the Batman Arkham games. You have a light attack, heavy attack, block, and a counterattack. Like the driving, it's very stiff and impossible to make your attacks flow. There's no way to change targets smoothly to prioritize enemies, and the transition from not fighting to fighting mode staggers any response in the controls, meaning enemies will get some free hits on you practically every time. But it turns out if you use just the heavy attack, you give them the boot so often that they can't fight back, and you can do this until you win, every time. For example, on my way to find Anvil, you know, this big charming fella. Some lady was being harassed by a guy. When I went to help, he immediately began attacking me, and he was tough! Until I started using the boot over and over again until he died, saving the girl and— What the fuck? What? Why are we sexing?
That was not an editing trick. That is exactly what happens, and it's the most deplorable thing about Ride to Hell Retribution. Women are used as literal trophies.
This isn't even sex! They're fully clothed! They're clothed so hard it stabs through her arm! Yeah, baby! You wanna know how this is super erotic? When she makes this blank, emotionless stare the entire time. And we're back to the game!
Was it good for you?
Anvil runs away and we go into a bike chase that, according to the skyline, takes 16 hours. He hides himself in a brewery and Jake can't get in. Don't worry though, he can charm his way into anything by throwing out some casual sexism.
I don't ever recall seeing a woman fixing a truck before.
Why, yes. It does get worse.
Her name is... Oh my god, they never gave her a name! A mechanic lady can get Jake into the building that Anvil's hiding in, but her ex-husband has the key. So you drive there while murdering some dudes and beat him up. And then they sex. She's in a jumpsuit! She's even more clothed than the last lady! How is this even possible? This is supposed to be titillating, but all I can think about is how gross that twin-size bed is. There isn't even sound effects! Just the most stereotypical porn music you can think of. Apparently this sex was super good, because afterwards, Jake refused to move and pretended to fly a kite for several minutes. Inside the brewery is 5 full levels of shooting dudes. Speaking of which, I've never played a game with such sloppy third-person shooting controls. The acceleration of the aiming makes it impossible to be precise, even when aiming down the sights. I even turned down the mouse sensitivity, but it didn't help. And you have to aim down the sights because firing from the hip is worthless. There is absolutely no indicator of where you're aiming without it, so running and gunning isn't really an option, especially with how stiff your movement is. Rather than just moving in the direction you press, Jake has to adjust his whole body or completely turn in that direction first. This causes a delay in your movement, which is deadly when you're caught up in fights. So the movement is tilted, and the aiming is unreliable, and the driving is empty padding. What part of this game is fun? None of it. None of it is fun. Anvil runs away into another stupid chase/turret section, and he doesn't give away much information, which makes Jake angry. After having to race some dude for reasons, I tracked another Devil's Hand gang member at a fight club. But in order to battle him, I have to fight my way up. What's actually nice about this part is that since it's based entirely on the hand-to-hand combat, the developers really upped the intricacies of these fights. You have to use every attack and technique available if you want to stand a chance. As you can see here, I have already perfected combat. Immediately after this dude is another fight. This man is a bit slimmer, so I changed my fighting style completely to get around his lightning quick reflexes. This took a lot of finesse, and by a slim margin, I was victorious. But there is a round 3 with a big lumberjack dude, which means previous tactics aren't going to work. I had to quickly adjust to this behemoth of a man to defeat him. Now, his AI is far improved over the other combatants. He is nowhere near as simple to beat, but, as I said, I am a master, and this game bends to my will, allowing me to beat this guy using the most advanced techniques that I have. This brings out the Devil's Hand member himself, Meat Hook. Oh geez, it's the machete dude that murdered Mikey. He's pretty much the boss of this part. I have no idea how I'm gonna take this guy on, unless I'm being cheered on by at least 7 identical women in the audience. And thanks to that power, I can focus all of my strength in advanced fighting moves to break through his impenetrable defenses. And halfway through the fight, he pulls out a spiked bat. All joking aside, this actually does make the fight way harder. I really enjoyed the complexity of this particular section. The developers really upped their game in making this fight far more interesting than any of the others. This game has a lot of shortcomings, but there is clearly a lot of care that went into this one fight alone. Just as Jake is about to get some answers from Meat Hook, another Devil's Hand member stabs him in the middle of the back through the pull of the ring. To find the next dude, Jake has to deliver some drugs while relentlessly murdering cops who are hilariously poor at their job. This brings Jake to some bar where lumberjacks are harassing the bartender, so Jake murders the crap out of them to help. And she's so thankful that they're dead that she immediately has sex with Jake on the pool table. The same pool table that I definitely covered in this dude's head blood.
I love your dog tags. So sexy, baby.
You're not even looking at them! She gives the location of the Devil's Hand member Colt, who is at a ranch protected by an electrified fence. Jake's answer to get around the fence? Steal an oil tanker, drive it 15 miles down the road, park it in front of the city dam, and blows it up!
You could have driven through the fence, or blown up the fence, or easily climbed one of the many nearby trees to simply climb over it. But no, you're right. This way is the easiest.
Colt runs to an airplane graveyard, because this city has one of those apparently. Here, it's fighting a lot of dudes to get to Colt. I do want to point out how good the AI is. Every single one of these enemies brings their fists to a gunfight. I won't complain though, it makes getting through the arduous combat sections much quicker. There's basically no reason to fight anyone. Just keep backing up until you shoot them to death. To make sure this works, Jake will even dislocate his arm to help shoot his rifle straight. After finding Colt in the airplane graveyard, the game suddenly assured me that all enemies in the area are dead. But I have reason to believe that the game might be lying to me. Anyway, Jake kills Colt and has to shoot his way through a clubhouse to get a lead on the next gang member. This means saving a bunch of ladies by killing every single dude around them. And that means, what else? An orgy! Yeah. These two chicks press their faces against his jeans so hard that it sucks the soul out of him. In between missions, you're at a sort of home base where you can sell drugs and spend money on upgrades. This includes buying weapons. And I have to show you how inept the developers are. Look at these controls! They don't make any sense! You use the arrow keys to select items, enter to purchase, 7 and 8 to flip pages, and F1 to confirm? F***ing F1? This isn't a 1980s DOS game! How do you screw up a menu? From here, Jake kills his way up the Devil's Hand ranks. He kills Greasy Steve by blowing up with dynamite, fights a chainsaw-wielding 666 with a crowbar even though I clearly have a gun on my back and the game won't let me just shoot the bastard, and finds a member named King Dick. And during a speech of his, King Dick holds up what I hope to God are his victim's fingers. In between all of this is crappy bike sections with dudes flying in from nowhere or trying really hard to phase through rails, shooting dudes in the brain as they run into my gun, QuickTime events, banging one more chick in a dirty alleyway for good measure, and more lovely voice acting.
You're the devil.
And then Matt gets murdered. Remember Mikey's girl problems? This is Ellie, Mikey's girlfriend, and her dad, Caesar, is the leader of the Devil's Hand gang. Plot twist, I guess. Caesar kidnaps Ellie, and Jake goes to have a final showdown. This is where all of the secrets of Jake's dad comes out. Jake's dad gambled his mom to Caesar and lost, so he ran away. And that's why they killed Mikey, and you know what? It's not important. Murder, 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 and Jake and Ellie give one last bike chase to get Caesar. They catch up, Jake jumps to his bike, QuickTime events his eyes out, and then gives one last action hero catchphrase to top it off.
Stay cool.
Explosions!
I know this game was originally planned to be open world, but even disregarding that, everything that's here is incohesive and terrible. There are so many better things you could be playing. That's why my final rating for this game is fully clothed Barbie and Ken dolls dry humping out of 10. Everything sucks. The fighting is stupidly broken, the shooting is stiff and too difficult to use for as often as it is, and the driving sections lack any kind of player engagement, making them nothing more than padding for a game that's twice as long as it should be. I'll be honest though, there are worse games made, ones that are buggier, less polished, and less playable. But Ride to Hell Retribution is something that those games aren't. Offensive. This game is offensive. The gameplay, the voice acting, and the worst sex scenes in video game history. Nobody should play this. Ever. This game is a modern legend. It'll go down in history as the worst game of the last generation. Ride to Hell joins the ranks of bad games like Bubsy 3D, Superman 64, Hydlide, and Drake of the 99 Dragons. This game is so bad, even the cops in it want out. Well, hello, officers. I hope you're having a good... Whoop. Oh, okay.
Thank you so very much for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Or for something completely different, try watching my video on the Tamagotchi game. Remember those? Or for a video on a good game, please watch my friend Pushing Up Roses' video on King's Quest VI.